The chandelier above the banquet hall glowed like frozen fire, its light spilling over silk dresses, tailored suits, and faces trained never to show fear. This was not an ordinary gathering. Every guest in the room knew it. The waitstaff knew it. Even the walls seemed to know it. Tonight was the welcome dinner for Salvatore Moretti, the Sicilian patriarch whose name was spoken in Europe the way storms were spoken of at sea, quietly, respectfully, and only when necessary. He was the father of Luca Moretti, the man most newspapers called a business tycoon, and most criminals called something else entirely. Near the back of the hall stood Elena Romano, a shy waitress with her shoulders slightly hunched and her eyes permanently lowered. She had begged the floor manager not to assign her to the VIP section. Her hands trembled when she carried trays, her voice barely rose above a whisper. No one in this room would have guessed that her heart was beating not from fear, but from memory. Because Elena wasn't just a waitress. She was Sicilian. Born in a village so small it didn't appear on tourist maps, raised on cobblestone streets where words mattered more than weapons, where dialect carried bloodlines. She had learned early that the wrong greeting could start a war, and the right one could end it. The doors opened. Silence fell like a blade. Salvatore Moretti entered slowly, not because age weakened him, but because patience was his language. He didn't look at the guests at first. He didn't need to. Men leaned back unconsciously. Women stopped breathing. Luca walked one step behind his father, powerful, controlled, but visibly deferential. This was not his kingdom tonight. The manager whispered urgently, "Elena. Table 12. Go." Her legs moved before her fear could argue. She approached the table with her head down, heart pounding so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. She placed the water glass in front of Salvatore with steady hands, hands trained by years of hiding. Then, against every rule she had been taught, she spoke. Not in Italian. Not in English. In pure, old Sicilian dialect. Buona sera, patri di casa. Onuri pi mia servirai of Watri. Good evening, father of the house. It is an honor for me to serve you. The sound didn't echo. It landed. Forks froze mid-air. Conversations died unfinished. Luca's eyes snapped up, sharp and disbelieving. Salvatore Moretti slowly lifted his gaze. For the first time that night, the patriarch smiled. A real one. You, he said softly, in the same dialect. You are not from here. Elena swallowed. No, signore. Then you remember, Salvatore said. And remembering is dangerous. Every guest waited for what came next, anger, suspicion, dismissal. Instead, Salvatore placed his hand flat on the table. Sit, he said. The room nearly collapsed under the weight of that single word. And Elena, shy, invisible Elena, sat at the table of kings. Elena sat straight-backed, hands folded in her lap, while the most feared man in the room studied her like an old book rediscovered in dust. Luca Moretti leaned forward slightly, his expression unreadable, calculating not danger, but meaning. Your accent, Salvatore said. It is not Palermo. Not Catania. Elena hesitated only a heartbeat. Montelupo, signore. That name moved through the air like a ghost. Several older men at nearby tables stiffened. Luca's jaw tightened. Montelupo was not just a village, it was a memory buried on purpose. My mother was from there, Salvatore said quietly. She used to say the people of Montelupo speak only when truth is required. He looked at Elena again. Why are you here, child of truth, serving wine to men who spill blood? The question wasn't loud. But it was fatal if answered wrong. Elena lifted her eyes fully for the first time. They weren't weak. They were old. Because my father taught me that silence feeds monsters, but dignity starves them. Luca inhaled sharply. Salvatore laughed once, short, sharp, approving. You speak like someone raised well. Who was your father? Elena's voice trembled, not with fear, but with grief. Marco Romano. The name hit the table like a dropped gun. Luca stood halfway before catching himself. Salvatore's smile vanished, not into anger, but into something heavier. Marco Romano died clean, Salvatore said after a long pause. That is rare. He died honest, Elena replied. That is rarer. The patriarch leaned back, eyes glistening, not with regret, but respect. Then the debt was not forgotten. He turned to Luca. My son built an empire. But empires mean nothing if they forget the blood that made them possible. Luca finally spoke. What do you want, Elena Romano? She shook her head. Nothing. Salvatore corrected her gently. No. You want nothing taken from you ever again. He reached into his jacket and placed a card on the table. Tomorrow, he said. You will not wear this uniform. You will sit in rooms where decisions are made. Not because you asked, but because you reminded us who we were. The guests exhaled as one. The shy waitress stood, bowed once, and walked away, no longer invisible. And as the doors closed behind her, every powerful man in that room understood the same truth. The most dangerous people are not the loud ones. They are the ones who remember. Elena did not sleep that night. The cards Salvatore Moretti had placed on the table lay on the small wooden desk in her rented room, untouched, like a verdict waiting to be accepted. Outside, the city breathed, cars passing, distant laughter, life going on unaware that a quiet line had just been crossed. She replayed every word, every pause, every look in Salvatore's eyes. That was not a man making an offer. That was a man settling an old moral balance. By morning, the news had already spread through invisible channels. Power never travels openly, it whispers.